Spooky! Oh, that was awful.
Oh yeah, Rick.
Do I have to come in again? Welcome, Spooky! That's much better. Are you all excited for our first panel of the day? That's good to hear. So I am so excited to welcome a true legend. You all know her from films like The Haunting, The Conjuring. Please join me in welcoming the incomparable Lili Taylor.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Thank you for asking. Well, we're going to jump right into it. So I would like to ask you first, being a fan of your work, in specifically The Haunting and The Conjuring, obviously we're all horror fans here.
Yeah.
What is it that draws you to a horror project?
Well, I love good, scary movies, as I'm sure we all do. That's why we're here. And I think when they're done really well, I love being a part of it. I think it's really healthy for everybody to gather in a dark room and be afraid and together and then resolve it somehow by the end. And I think that's an important thing for us to do together, not like by ourselves in our, living rooms.
So you are a horror fan then?
I am.
So do you have a favorite?
Well, I'm old school. I mean, I always return back to Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist just because, for various reasons, but I just love them. I'm old school, boring probably.
The classics. All right, so when doing a horror project, how do you prepare to get into the mindset that is going to drive you through the story as someone who is either producing fear for the audience or is portraying fear on screen? How do you prepare for that?
Well, one thing that was great about working with James Wan for The Conjuring was his commitment to the truth is so strong, and to, humanity. He wants the characters to be real, and it's that comes before anything else. And I think that really reinforced for me as an actor, like, that's the way in, is to be telling a true story. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter, and commit to it. That's the key, as opposed to like winking or not committing all the way or just not taking it seriously. So that's the main thing for me, is to believe it.
So have there ever been any moments that you've experienced in the creation of a film that stuck with you long after the film was done?
Do you mean like scary things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's so boring because unfortunately, if you talk to, I don't know, at least most actors I know who've done scary movies, there's not a lot of scary stuff that happens because, well, you've got a lot of things to do each day, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it's like there's a special effects guy behind the door and I can see him with the string, and it just sort of takes away the thing, but that's okay. I'm not there to be scared, but I did get scared when I saw it in the theater. Yeah, I
And
screamed at least 5 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one?
Conjuring.
The Conjuring,
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So with that project specifically, you've worked with so many different people over the years. In the Conjuring universe, it's become kind of this massive thing. Is there anything in the Conjuring universe that you would like to do that you haven't done, like for a future film?
Oh, like if I was going to do another Conjuring?
Yeah.
You mean? I know, I hadn't even thought about it because they cured me. So my case was solved. Unless Caroline has another occurrence, which could happen, I wouldn't mind getting possessed again.
That's the fun part, right? Being possessed.
Definitely.
Is there a director that you've worked with that, what's the approach that they have to a horror film that has surprised you or challenged you the most?
Well, honestly, I've worked with a bunch of good directors with horror, which kind of surprised me because, like, starting out, like, in the, late 80s, 90s, like, first of all, TV, you didn't do TV. because that was before HBO, and so it was just like, you know, you didn't do TV and you didn't really do a lot of horror. And then all of a sudden it's like, I started to realize it's just a genre. It's not, there can be some really interesting stuff happening in there. I mean, I'm more interested in acting stuff, you know, as opposed to whatever other things. So, you know, there's got to be a connection with the director for me. And I found that all these directors I've worked with in this genre have been like artists, like real artists, and they care. They care about the truth, the details, and I've actually loved working with them. And I find like you can actually push things a little bit more, because it's like you can break rules more because there are rules. So I've actually been very pleasantly surprised and satisfied.
Thank you. Do you enjoy watching your work? Because some actors don't really like to watch themselves on screen. Do you?
I'm okay. I mean, Samuel Jackson said, I heard that he said, someone said, do you want to come in and watch some dailies? And he says, I could be watching myself all day. He'd love to. And I wish I had that. I don't have that, and I don't have, oh my God, I don't have that. I'm somewhere in between. I'm just sort of like, on to the next character, you know? But if I see my stuff, I'm like, you know, I can enjoy the whole thing, you know?
Do you pick it apart? Do you ever look back and go, oh, I would have done this differently?
I try not to, because it's like, you just try to do the best you can in that moment, and to get down on yourself, because it's not constructive. It doesn't help me for the next job. It's better to be a kind of like a gentler way of saying, you know, with the caveat that I did the best that I could on that day. What can I learn from it, you know?
So horror has evolved, you know, going back to Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist, it's evolved dramatically. We have so many different subgenres. How do you feel the genre has shifted since your first experience in the horror genre? And what do you think defines the modern horror landscape?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. I don't have because I'm not deeply into it. Like I watch it, but I'm more like a real spectator. You know, like if you were going to ask me about, you know, artsy films or something, I could probably answer. But that I don't know. But I do know that, like I just saw Smile 2 the other day, and then I saw what was the one with Nick Cage? The one that was Long Legs. Okay, so like those I found really interesting. You know, I don't know if those were done years ago, that kind of thing, but I found like Long Legs like really out there, like really singular out there, and I don't know, that guy's imagination is just wild.
Yes, agreed. Is there a horror film that you have seen that you were not part of that you wish you would have been a part of?
Geez, let me think about that and maybe come back to it.
Yeah, sure. She's gonna think about that. We'll come back to that. So, of all your body of work, what is your favorite project that you've worked on, both as an actor and then as a fan?
Right. I would say I really loved Outer Range, the thing I just did with Amazon. Thank you. And I loved. I mean, I Shot Andy Warhol will always have a special thing because the connection with the director was so close, you know, and nothing was written about that character, and so we had to she did a lot of the research, but we had to kind of figure her out together. And for me, the real deal is the connection with the director, and that was also like at the height of independent films. It felt like after that film, like I probably wouldn't even been cast in it because you started to get like names that you had to cast, you know. Whereas Mary Herron, the director, wasn't under any pressure. She could cast me because she wanted me, you know. So, anyways, that was an especially, you know, cool experience.
Yeah. Shifting a little bit from horror, my introduction to you was your role in Dogfight. And yes, definitely. Can you talk to us a little bit about your experience in that film and how it kind of catapulted you in film?
Well, yeah, I wish it had catapulted me more. But I remember someone, I think it was Roger Ebert, put me in a overlooked and underrated column after Dogfight. But that's fine. I'm used to my stuff. It'll reach people when it reaches people, and that's fine. It doesn't also matter quantity. Okay, so more people saw it. I don't know. It's like, does that? You know that thing with social media, like the more likes something has, the less likelihood the person read the thing. So I'd rather have somebody really watch my thing and like it. Anyway, digression. That was another experience I really loved. And, you know, that character, you know, when you, as an actor for me, you know, you're living with a character and it's like, you have to get along, you know, you have to kind of work together with the character. And sometimes characters aren't very nice, like Valerie Solanas, paranoid schizophrenic, not the nicest person. Rose was so nice that having her kind of encourage me, you know, that I was on the right track. It was just a really warm experience and a very, I think just like the empathy thing, or not empathy, I think it's like, Rose has such an open way of being in the world that it's almost just as easy to feel that about her, you know, a kind of warmth towards her, and I just loved it. I loved River, and you know, it's a true story, so there's something about that kernel of, just like The Conjuring had truth in it, anything that has a little bit of truth in it, I think is always a little bit extra interesting.
I agree, 100%. So do you have a memorable story from any of your body of work that kind of spilled into your daily life that you felt like it was something to talk about, notable?
I mean, The Conjuring,
Is this still on? Yeah, okay. The Conjuring, what I found that I needed to do, you know, one of the things with an actor, for me, is how to leave the character there, like when you do a play, when they have an expression, you know, you wipe your feet at the stage door, so you leave yourself kind of outside your problems, and then when you leave the theater, well, they don't really have an expression for that, but there should be one, which is you leave the character there. Well, The Conjuring, that was getting a little bit hard, because I was possessed for like days, because we shot all those possession scenes, and I found that I was returning home at 4 a.m, feeling possessed. So I realized I had to do something to help me get back into the world, you know, and so I actually started watching these bird cams, but then when you know,
cleanser.
what?
Like a palate cleanser?
Palate cleanser, but then I was watching this heron, the great blue heron, there's a cam on their nest, and it was so peaceful, and I was just hearing like the frogs, and it's 4 a.m, and then all of a sudden a great horned owl came down, and the heron had to stand up like a dinosaur, and I was like, oh my God, I felt possessed again. But that was fine, whatever. I mean, that's life, and that's okay. But and the heron did make it out, and hopefully the owl got something else to eat later that night. But I didn't have to see it eat the little baby heron. Yeah.
That would have been traumatic for me, for sure.
Kind of, but it's also nature. I'm okay with that.
It is what it is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you said that, you know, you have played characters that are not so nice, and then characters like your character in Dogfight that are just truly gems of humans. What do you prefer to play as an actor?
Anything.
Really?
Yeah, for me, I think this went out again. Did it?
okay, back. I think for me, I can project too. I do come from the theater.
I think that it doesn't matter. What matters to me, I think the most important thing is the connection with the director. Because in a way, after that, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, yeah, it's like, and then of course it's like the script, you know. Wait, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Which do you prefer playing?
Right, the characters, that's probably why I got sidetracked, because it's so kind of, okay, I don't like one-dimensional. That I won't play, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in perpetuating a stereotype. Not interested in that. unless it's for a greater good. Like, I'll perpetuate a stereotype, for instance, in like I did the prom, what are the prom movies? You know, the...
Prom night? Prom night?
Yeah, yeah. So I just did one of those, and I mean, the character was a stereotypical mean principal. That's fine, because it's for this greater good, which is a movie to scare people and so on. But if we were really telling her story, and like, I'd have to be like, we've gotta get a little deeper here. Yeah.
So what you just mentioned, the prom film, is that the Fear Street
Yes,
film?
Fear Street.
Okay, so the next film, Fear Street
Yeah.
Prom Queen?
Yeah,
Yes?
yeah.
Besides what you just told us, is there anything else you can tell us about it? I know it's in post-production right now, so you might not be able to tell us a whole lot.
About Fear Street?
About that
Or
particular
whatever, yeah.
film, yeah.
Yeah, because it's still kind of, I don't know why I can't get the title, but anyway, that was fantastic. And again, another case of a director who was totally cool, artistic, wild, passionate, and I hadn't even read the script. I was just talked to him. I was like, I'm on. It doesn't matter, because I thought, well, I want to work with someone who's this committed. Yeah.
That's amazing. So do you have a director that you have not yet worked with that you would love to work with?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, right now it's Sean Baker from Honora and Florida Project, Tangerine. He's who I want to work with right now. Yeah.
Can you share why?
Have you guys seen Honora? It's an indie film. It's anyway, for me, it was almost like, I like when films kind of feel almost like a documentary in a way, but it's not. And the level of reality, the level that he got to, I mean, they immersed themselves into that world. It's Coney Island, takes place in a strip club mostly, a wild world. I live in Brooklyn, so I kind of know that world. I've played a character from Brooklyn, and I think her name is Mickey Madison from Better Things, maybe. She played the main character. Her accent was perfect. I believed everything, and I was moved. And his commitment to truth is just beautiful.
Great, that's amazing. So you have portrayed so many different characters in so many different genres. Is there something that truly speaks to you? Besides, I know you said that you really do like the commitment of a director, and that kind of is a factor in your choosing a role, but is there something about the script that pulls you in, that makes you say, yes, I have to do this?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where I also will say no, if I feel the script is just, it really has to do for me, is like, do I believe it, and are they telling the truth? And if I'm on page 2, I'm kind of like, what are they even saying? Like, what are they even connected to this? Are they even like, why are they making this? Why did they write this? You know, if I'm asking that question, forget it. Why? Because there's already so much stuff out there. I don't need to add more to the pile if it's not very good, you know? When a script is really good, it's, they're listening. It's as if the writer is listening to the characters. They are tracking the story. They're following through. If they introduce something at the beginning, they'll bring it back at the end because they'll respect what they put there, you know? So I guess I'm looking for a care.
Is there a dream role for you that you have yet to play, that you're looking to play at some point?
I'd love to play a race car driver.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I love driving. I love cars. I love driving fast. I love Senna. I'd love to drive fast. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So you have become a horror icon.
Okay.
How do you feel about that title?
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, whatever it's like, carry the projection with grace. Whatever in 90s indie icon, that's fine. You know, that's great. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna start passing it to you guys in a couple of minutes. So if you have any questions for Lili, please line up right here. The microphone is in the center aisle.
And there's no spotlight on you.
And there's no spotlight on you.
Oh, I don't think so.
So this one's kind of a little unique. You have a diverse body of work. If there was a museum exhibit of your body of work, what are 3 things that you think should be in that exhibit that would speak most to you?
3 roles, you mean, or three essences from the thing? I make these charts for characters where usually if a character's written well, her arc will break into 4 main sections, kind of like life, and I'll kind of like name each section, and then I'll sort of distill each moment to 1 word. And I started doing it when the films were going so fast in the 90s, we didn't have any time. And so I'd have to find out where I was in her life. And so I'd usually use it with the director and be like, okay, now we're here. This is where we are emotionally. And I think I would have my charts there, because they're kind of like, my husband, he's a writer and, loves that kind of stuff. And he loves my charts. He says they should, they're like little, beautiful little objects, So the charts I would have, I remember when I asked, I was always like, didn't have like a room for like most of my shoots. Like I'd be in like, I don't even know where I'd be changing. Like once I changed in the basement of Bellevue Hospital when I was doing the addiction, which I was like, this is pushing it. But I just said, I wanted in my contract, I said, I want a room with a door that closes. Even if it's a stage door, I don't care. It can be a fake door. I just want it to pretend that we're closing it, and it's. So I would maybe put a door there, and an apple box. And because I love sitting on apple boxes, I don't sit on the chairs. And so, on the last few productions, the prop guys have always, and the prop women have made apple boxes with my name on it. Yeah, so I'd have an apple box. Yeah.
You mentioned your background in theater. And as you know, performing in theater is vastly different than performing on film. Do you have any stories of something that went wrong while you were on stage that you had to pivot and make it work?
Well, that's great. I mean, yeah, and those are some of my favorite moments. I love bloopers. I love them, and so when a blooper happens on stage, I've got to work really hard to keep it together. I'll share an anecdote or a quote. Laurence Olivier, when he was asked, "What's the most important thing?" Do you guys know Laurence Olivier? Okay, because he's dead and he's very old, so obviously. A lot of people might not know him, but he was a very famous actor, and he said his advice is check your props. Which I thought was like, okay. I thought he was going to say something much deeper, But then one night I was doing this play, and we had to run a film in it with a projector, and we hadn't checked it, and there was no film in it, and it didn't work, and the whole reality of the play crumbled, and because everything was depending on that, and so the only thing I'll share is just like, check your props, because like if you're supposed to kill somebody on stage but you don't have the knife, forget it, it's over. It's like you gotta say to the audience, I fucked up, excuse me, I'm going back, I'm gonna get a knife, we'll start over.
Yeah, or get really creative with how you're gonna kill
Or that's strangle, go to strangle to strangle.
Yep. All right, we're gonna throw it to you all. Here you go, first question.
Hi, finally, thank you for coming here. I've been asking for you for years. And thank you also for bringing up Dogfight, because it's literally one of my top 10 films.
Which
ever.
film?
Dogfight.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Seriously, I know you guys are all horror, but after this weekend is over, please go look at that film and watch it. It's amazing. Also, when I first watched Conjuring, I was genuinely concerned for your physical well-being, because they said, I didn't know if that was in the script, but then they said, it's like, hey, we're gonna strap you to a chair and turn you upside down. Is that okay? Do you have any say in what they do to you, and is that something that they tell you ahead of time?
Oh, well, I love stunts. I love stunt coordinators. I love physical stuff. And so if anything, they don't want the actor to do anything for obvious financial reasons. But so I have to beg to say, hey, I know what I'm doing. I'm a good listener. I won't get in over my head. And so me and the stunt people are always buddies. And so I did most of that stuff unless it was really dangerous. And I love it. And so I was okay. But I was okay because I know how to like use my body, so I'm not gonna F myself up, you know?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question.
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm a filmmaker, and I just had a filmmaking question for you. But I just want to say, the one that really, the movie that got me for you was Ransom. When I watched that for the first time, I noticed you for the first time. Yeah, and another one of the other movies. You were great in other movies, but I just felt like Ransom was the first time I noticed who you were, and I'm like, I'm a big fan of you. So, as a filmmaker, I want to ask. With directors, some of them are like by the script, you know, like you gotta say word for word, it's gotta be like by the script. There's other ones that are like more, no, go improv, no, do you know, how would you feel this character would be, you know, what kind of directors are you more, you know, inclined to work with in regards to, do you like that kind of thing or do you like both, a mix of both?
You know, it depends, but I feel that the first one is just, it can be a rigidity. And it's sort of like, if something's not working, you gotta be flexible. And so when someone hangs on to something when it's not working, I'm disappointed in that. And I will say my feelings about that. And I will get something changed, do you know what I mean? Because if it's not working, I can't do it. Right? So, the latter.
Okay, the latter?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right,
so
thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it.
Next question.
You've worked with some
No,
amazing.
security.
Yeah. Oh, hey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've worked with some amazing supporting actors and actresses over the years. You know, you've had like River Phoenix, John C. Reilly, Robert Downey Jr., etc. I was wondering, is there one co-star that you've worked with that stands out the most in your memory, like somebody you're dying to work with again? You know, just expand upon that.
You know, I really loved working with Josh Brolin. I mean, that's my most recent one, so it's probably the freshest in my memory, but I really loved, it felt like a partnership. I mean, we were married, but in the thing, but it felt like a partnership. It felt like, you know, we're around the same age, we came up at the same time, we came up in New York, we know we've got the same kind of stomping grounds, and I just felt a real kinship. And so I loved working with Josh.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next.
Nancy, what's going on?
Hey, Nico.
Ms. Lily, nice to meet you. I just wanted to ask, you know, I just found out you were in Fear Street, so that's cool. You were also in the Conjuring and Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. So I'm just curious, what's another horror franchise you would like to be in?
Ooh, well, if they did another Exorcist, I mean,
Hey,
if they could
Mike
make that
Flanagan.
franchise.
Mike Flanagan's doing one.
Oh, really?
Mike Flanagan
Like a
is-
second one, or?
I think
It's a
he's
sequel.
rebooting the
It's
whole
part
thing.
of that Believer universe that
Is it?
Gordon Green just did.
I'll add to your better knowledge on that one. Yeah,
Oh.
Mike Flanagan is taking up the mantle of Exorcist.
Okay.
So
Well, yeah.
Everybody
We gotta
get on
make this
Instagram and
we need to make this happen.
yeah, everybody get on Instagram and at Mike Flanagan, that Lili Taylor is being the next exorcism. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next question.
Hi, I loved you in The Conjuring, and I just wanted to ask, is there anything that Caroline, any advice or anything that she gave you for your role in The Conjuring?
Wait, the character or the real
The
person?
real person.
No.
No.
No. You know, it's sort of like just a look in the eyes, you know?
Yeah.
And that was enough, I think, probably for her and for me, you know? It must have been pretty intense for her to come and watch.
Yeah, no, you definitely nailed it.
Thank you.
I loved it.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
Next question.
Hi. So first off, my favorite film ever is Say Anything. I know you weren't like the main character even, but like, oh my god, best film ever, love it. And that was my first experience like seeing you. And I was just wondering, like, what is your favorite like films that you've ever worked on or movie you've worked on? Where like if you could go back in time and go back to that, like which one would that be?
Oh, you know, I think I shot Andy Warhol because it captures a time in New York. Like I wasn't in New York in the 60s. I got there, I mean, I visited in the 70s, but I really wasn't there till the late 80s. And I would want to go back because that world, like the production designer created the factory. you know, and she did such a good job, and where Andy Warhol was, and the people were taking such risks back then, the artists and so on, and so and New York was really raw, you know, so I would want to go back to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? All right.
Oh yeah, no, there isn't.
No, it's just an illusion. So I do want to talk a little bit about Manhunt, your role as Mary Todd Lincoln.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that project and how that came to be.
Yeah, well, you know, I think I got an offer on that, and it was sort of felt like, yeah, I mean, this looks great. The creator was very into the story. I hadn't read the book, but I heard the book was really good, and he was going to be on set. And that was also a case of, I feel that that character has been very like maligned, and I was interested in finding other aspects to her that hadn't been told.
Did you do any research to just kind of get into, when you're playing a role that is a person that was a real person, do you do it differently as far as preparation, or no?
Yes, but it's tricky because for me, it's not about trying to capture that person perfectly. I mean, I know for me, when an actor gets the essence of the character that was real, as opposed to like they're exactly like that character, but I'm not moved, then I don't care. You know, I'd rather connect, find your way in. And so I've learned that is the way to go. So I don't worry about sounding completely like her, but just getting her essence. But I also really do like the facts of the context of details. Like there was one guy who was always writing about, like, he was the guy in the White House who was writing kind of all about the little things that were happening, sort of like a chronicler. And he had some great details about Mary Lincoln that nobody else had, you know. And it was from actually being there, not a perception about her, like she's crazy or, you know, whatever. Anyways, and so I try to find like authentic details about the character.
And we talked a little bit about a director that you want to work with. We talked about a project that you might want to work on. Is there an actor that you have yet to work with that you would like to work with?
Gosh, I guess I don't dream a lot. No, anybody's fine.
Anybody's fine.
Yeah.
I love that. Very flexible.
Yeah.
So going back to your work in theater, are you still involved in theater? And if so, do you have something that's on the horizon that you'd like to share?
Oh, I do. I mean, I don't have anything to share, but I do still work in theater, and it's, you know, COVID was hard, and the theater is really, you know, like everything is in flux in a way. But the only thing with theater is I just have to have a little bit of money in the bank if I'm going to do theater, and so, you know, college is coming up for my kid, and so I just need a little bit of money if I'm going to do a play. Yeah.
No one gets into theater to get rich.
Exactly.
Speaking of New York, you were on an episode of Law and Order, which is
Yes.
kind of, you know, a badge of honor. If you're in New York, everyone's been in an episode of Law and Order.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that experience, because that, speaking of icons, that's an iconic show. It's been on since the beginning of time, it seems. Talk to us about that, and would you be interested in doing that again, in playing a different role?
Well, it was great because, as you said, like all of my friends have done Law and Order. It's just something you do if you live in New York, and it just felt like, yeah, like to be a part of like a staple, a New York staple. But I think that was fine, and that was enough for me. You know, sometimes that kind of TV to work on for me isn't as interesting because it's a very much of a formula. And that doesn't always interest me as much as sort of being able to take some risks with shots, and you can't do that on that kind of show. You have to get your wide, you're over, you're singing. And for me, sometimes I'm kind of like, okay, what are on the single close-up, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but they're fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely. So you've worked with James Wan.
Yeah.
Which we all know and love very,
Yes.
very much. Can you tell us a fun story about your experience working with James Wan?
Well, I would work with James Wan in a second again, and I just actually ran into him a month ago, and I just adore him. My feeling about James, well, first of all, he had dyed red hair, and he almost seemed like a skateboarder dude when I met him years ago. Story about James. Well, James, I mean, the only thing I'll say is that he would not, like, put The Conjuring into production until he was completely believed the script, that if he had to be afraid at the moments he should be afraid, and if he wasn't, they went back and they worked on it. So his level of kind of trusting his feelings and saying, like, no, if I'm not scared, I'm not going to make this. So that says so much about him.
Yes, definitely. Do you have any directorial aspirations?
I do.
Yeah?
I do, yeah. If Outer Range had gone another season, I would have directed one of the episodes. Yeah, I do. And now it's just really about, you know, faith and taking the leap and stuff like that. But yeah, I do.
Have you seen any scripts or anything that you've thought maybe this is the one that I can direct?
Not yet. I think it would be probably, there's been ideas that I'd want to do, like, with very little money, and yeah, more like independent. Yeah.
Yeah, and is there a story that kind of speaks to you?
There are, well, yeah. Yeah, there's a few. I mean, I just actually, she's here, I think. There's a woman who does work with all the pythons that are loose in Florida. I don't know if you know her. That seems very interesting to me.
To direct that story?
Yeah, I've said that I only would want to, like, direct something and not be in it, but that just seems kind of too fun not to be in. So
yeah, there are actors that they direct it and they see that they want to be in that story.
And if I'm just kind of dealing with pythons, it's not like maybe maybe the acting load isn't as heavy, you know, so I could do it. Yeah.
So with all the different subgenres that there are in horror, you know, you have psychological, supernatural, slashers, creature features. Is there a subgenre that you love most as a fan?
I think the psychological. I think that's what gets me. And I don't know what falls into that, but it would be the psychological.
What is it about the psychological horror that sticks with you that you enjoy so much?
It's I guess my imagination gets fired up more, and that feeling, that tension, the unknown, yeah, and not seeing so much stuff, but imagining it.
And of all the projects that you've done, is there a project besides what we talked about before that you would come back for a sequel of that project that went in a different direction than what you did the first time?
Well, I mean, for sure The Conjuring, you know, or whatever whatever universe he does, of course. And I mean, if the director came back and said, I'm excited about trying this, I would be on board. Yeah.
How do you feel about doing comedy?
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything that speaks to you in that genre?
I mean,
do you have a favorite comedy film?
Well, for me, it's actually After Hours, but that's not a comedy. But that, to me, I'm hysterically laughing. I mean, I loved Arrested Development. I mean, the kind of comedy I like is, you know, or the original Office, the English Office, and even Fawlty Towers. I mean, I can go from Fawlty Towers to like Arrested Development to what's a funny movie lately? I don't know. I don't feel like I've laughed for a while, but
yeah, we're
all feeling like that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Please. just scoot on out. If you're VIP, you're allowed to stay.